the women. Like when you hear the global statistic, it always says 1/3 of women have experienced violence. And in some countries, that number is quite high. We have countries where it goes up to 38%, 48%, really high numbers and high rates of violence. And therefore, this is a human rights violation. It's a human rights issue. So violence against women and girls becomes a really core and fundamental issue and concern, and should be a concern for everyone who cares for human rights, anyone who cares for humanity, anyone who cares for people being able to live to their full selves, because if you're going through violence, you cannot be able to contribute.
What Works 2 is a very exciting program. I had the pleasure of also being part of What Works 1. I worked in the component with IRC that looked at violence against women and girls in conflict settings, and we carried out the very first prevalence study in South Sudan about the violence that women and girls experience during the war and also at home. And what was really important about What Works 1 is that it showed in so many different types of programs, from couples counseling to working with men and boys to mental health interventions, that it actually is possible to reduce violence against women and girls in pretty short periods of time. So I would say that we already have that evidence has already been very important. And if you can see, for example, in the Sustainable Development Goals and in international declarations, it's becoming more and more recognized that prevention is very important, that it's not just a matter of providing services or changing laws, but we really need to be thinking about changing norms and changing the way we think about violence.
If women cannot go to work and make an income because of fear of violence, maybe they're being barred from working by their partners, or if they're sexually abused at the workplace, or they're sexually abused in the education sector, it means they are confined somewhere, and therefore they will not fully participate in the socio-economic development of this world.
So violence against women and girls can act as a real barrier to participation in all spheres of life. And when we look at climate action, that can mean that the violence faced by climate activists and environmental human rights defenders prevents them from continuing to do their work. The same can be said for women scientists working on the climate crisis. And when we look at climate programming, it's really important to involve whole communities in climate resilience and climate adaptation. But violence against women and girls can prevent women from participating in that. In addition, when we have climate emergencies, women who experience violence often are not able to keep themselves safe in those emergencies. So it's really important that the climate sector understands that violence against women and girls is a real barrier to women's participation and can really affect how we address climate.
Well, in the context of tertiary education, I believe that integrating violence prevention is of paramount importance. These are spaces where our young leaders, our young adults are forming their identities and building networks, as well as preparing for employment and leadership. So if we don't integrate violence prevention into this phase of education, we risk carrying harmful practices and power dynamics that will actually affect them in the society and in workplaces. To those in the education sector, I would like to say safety is not a side issue. It's a core responsibility. So tertiary institutions must actually lead by example. Universities should actually take it upon themselves to create a culture of safety and respect, because these are values that do not just come up later. These are values that are seen in the now. By integrating violence prevention within education, we are saying, let's transform a culture of respect and dignity. And so my message is, let's create campuses that are compounded under safety, dignity, and equality, and that should not be negotiated. So, because if we do that right, we'll be able to actually influence the society beyond the borders of universities, and the world will be a better place.